Welcome to Football Incorporated Podcast, a podcast created by two of the greatest football minds.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Football Incorporated Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Cody Kirsten, and I'm here joined by my really good friend, Patrick Arthurs. Patrick, good evening. How are you today, my friend?
I'm well, man. Great day, man. Spring weather's here, and hey, NFL draft's coming up, so you can't beat that.
Yeah, we live in Michigan, and it snowed yesterday in the middle of spring, and that was kind of weird. Last week, we didn't have a podcast because I had a pretty high fever. I actually missed out on school. I'm going to make a little PSA right now. I'm also going to post this on our Twitter. Follow us at FT_ball_INC. So like FT ball and then _INC. And then that's the same for our YouTube channel as well. And also find us on Podbean. I'm going to make a quick PSA. Over the next coming weeks, this is going to be very sporadic, and especially over the summer as well. Over the next couple weeks, school's closing down, and that means that I'm not going to have as much time to really focus on football. I'm not going to have as much time to, do the podcast on those weeks. So as April is winding down, it's only the 12th, but for me, it's 2 weeks. Then school's done, and then I got to, move back in with my parents. And then soon after that, Patrick here is going on a trip to Israel.
Yep.
And then a couple weeks in May. So we're not going to do podcasts for that time. And then, so we'll get back, in the middle of May, right?
Yeah, around that time, middle of May.
So we'll get back around the middle of May, and then we're going to have a couple weeks. And then I am going to my summer job, which is the whole summer. I'm going to be working at a camp called Camp Geneva. It's in Holland. They're not sponsoring us or anything at all. I'm just saying, that's where I work. That's where I love to work over the summer. We do have weekends off at the camp. So we either get down Friday night or Saturday morning, depending. But a lot of times on those Friday nights, a lot of us like to go out and do something over the weekend. But, I would say a few times over the summer, we will be posting episodes. Probably not on Podbean. We'll get them out on YouTube probably. That might be our best bet. It'll all depend. I mean, it costs money to run this operation. It costs money to, through our Podbean account to post to all these websites. So if we're only doing it once a month, it doesn't make sense for us to, put in a lot of money to get one episode out. So that's all I'm saying. We'll think about it. It'll come down later, but just know over the summer, over the next few months and over the summer, it's going to be very, very sporadic when these episodes come out. And there's not going to be really, a dedicated Friday like we've been doing for the last several weeks where episodes are going to be coming out. So I just thought I'd let you know kind of what's going on with my life. And then, once fall comes around, it's going to be a lot. We want to try and get podcasts done on Monday. That's something me and Patrick still need to discuss and figure out when we have free time to do. But we want to get podcasts done a Monday afternoon and then hopefully a Friday leading up to the week. So Monday will be a breakdown of the Sunday games, and then a Friday podcast will be an upcoming kind of thing.
Preview, kind of like a preview.
Yeah, exactly. So we would want to do 2 podcasts a week coming in the fall. And which really what we're doing right now is we're just trying to get our name out there. Right now we're just trying to spark up hey, we exist. Later we might try and do some advertising. But I just want to let the listeners here understand what's going on with my life. And if, Patrick, you have anything to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, so in other words, the message we want to get across here is in the summer, obviously I think as Cody said, pretty busy. I also do work in the summer too, so I do have a job, which helps me really pay for my textbooks. But again, that's kind of expensive. But again, I do work a lot. I'm also going to a youth conference in Minnesota this summer. So, and that's in July though. But obviously the Israel trip. So we'll try to get as much content out in the summer. But come the fall, there will be a lot of really great material.
It's also the summer. Things happen, but they don't happen the real reason we really wanted to do this now, like I said before, is we wanted to get ourselves out there. That's really the real reason we wanted to get out, kind of put ourselves out there right now, is that when fall comes, we already have a lot of episodes out. So we're kind of already established in the podcast field is what we really want to do. And then I think also in the fall, we're going to get out. We're going to make some more social media accounts, and we're going to go onto iTunes and Google Play and those things as well. Right now, we're just on Spotify and on Podbean and on YouTube. It doesn't make sense for us to make all these social media accounts that we're not going to keep up for, over the, the summer and then the spring. I mean, this spring, May, I'm going to have a job too. I'm going to do an internship, and then my summer job, Camp Geneva, starts. That's going to be my main focus. And then, then we got, Patrick's going on his trip. So, really sporadic. I know this is kind of a long intro. We're already 6 minutes into it, but I just wanted to be clear, and the 10 people who listen to this that that's what we're doing, and that's kind of where we're heading out for the next few months. But still, listen. I love doing this, and this is just a hobby. Me and Patrick really like talking about football, and so that's something that we want to inform you guys on.
Yeah. So in other words, obviously the content won't be as much this summer, but again, we encourage you to listen to the content and feel free, if you have any comments, send us a direct message on Twitter, tweet at us.
We have an email. It's hold on, let me pull it up. It is, what is our email, Patrick?
It is,
hold on. It is footballincorp@gmail.com.
Yep. So email us any ideas, tweet at us, send us a message, any ideas you want us to have on this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, we're free. We're down. It's just two guys doing a podcast. I mean, we're free for any really fan interaction at this point. We don't care. We hope to have more guests on with us. We hope to have Devon Clements on, at least at some point again. And, I know one of my friends wanted to do a get to know your hosts podcast with Megan DeBoer. She said she's a friend of mine. She said it would be fun to do that. So, we just wanted to kind of have fun, and just do things, liven things up. So, sorry, long introduction, but I want to make sure that we're, what's going on is what's going on. And now we're going to get right into the football talk. And the first thing on our plate is going to be Russell Wilson. And will he stay in Seattle? I say yes. He has carried this team. I mean, back in the day, it was a lot of the defense. It was with Richard Sherman. But recently, it's just been Russell Wilson back there scrambling for his life. And, the team has helped, obviously, because, that's what a team does. But they haven't helped enough. And he deserves as much money as he wants, really, for keeping this team held together as long as they have.
And I just think if you're the Seahawks, again, I'm going based on the pattern what the Seahawks have done with contract extensions historically. Again, an example I think about is Cam Chancellor. They gave him a 4-year contract. So I think for Russell Wilson's contract, it's going to be a 4-year contract in the neighborhood of maybe like 140 million, give or take. And I would say for guarantees, give him close to $100 million guaranteed, because I think that's what he deserves, and that's what Aaron Rodgers got from the Packers.
Excuse my cough. I still have some crap in my throat. Yeah, I understand what he's doing. He wants to get paid, and he wants to get paid fast, or he wants to get traded to a different team that's going to pay him. And there are a few teams out there that are ready to. If Russell Wilson was on the market right now, there's no doubt Miami would pick him up like that. I guarantee you. If he was on the market, either that or I know Arizona really isn't happening with Rosen. But it was after he had 1 year, and it was pretty pitiful. But, if he was on the market, there are probably 5-6 teams that would be willing to snatch him up immediately.
And again, if you're the Seahawks, I think for the Seahawks are smart about who they sign, the veterans they re-sign. So obviously, I think one free agent that they didn't re-sign was Earl Thomas. But again, when the Ravens gave him $32 million guaranteed at a player at his age, obviously I get that. But if you're the Seahawks, again, you cannot pass up the opportunity to re-sign Russell Wilson. And again, he deserves as much guaranteed money as Aaron Rodgers, because he's really transformed as a quarterback. he's now the team leader. And again, as this team transforms to a more offensive team, Russell Wilson should be compensated accordingly.
I mean, last year Russell Wilson almost had an MVP caliber season. He threw for 3,400 yards, 35 touchdowns, and seven interceptions. Those are solid numbers.
Exactly, man. Russell Wilson is a great quarterback. And again, I think the Seahawks have been very fortunate to build a great roster because obviously you're not paying a lot of money. He's making below market value. But again, he deserves to be paid. So pay up, Seahawks.
He's 30 years old. He's probably got 8 years left. I don't see him playing in his 40s. He runs around a lot. He gets hit a lot. So I see him playing till about 36, 38. So he needs to finish his career out in Seattle, and he needs to sign a big contract. You know, they signed him to 5-6 years. I mean, Chicago signed Jay Cutler to 7. You know, is it possible that, you know, the Seahawks sign him for a 7-year, like $30 million a year guaranteed contract? I don't know what that number is off the top of my head, but it'd be close to in the $230 million range. You know, can I see that happening? I think Seattle needs to jump on the opportunity and keep this guy, or else, you know, I don't know where they're coming from. Are they going to trade for someone? Are they going to get Rosen? But if they get Rosen for Russell Wilson, that's even the point of that. You should have just kept Russell Wilson to save some cap space. He's the leader of this team, and he should get paid $32, $33 million because, first of all, cap space keeps going up every year, and players keep getting paid more, and he needs to get paid probably one of the highest because he's consistently been there for this team. He hasn't had a year where he's thrown for more than 11 interceptions, and that is absolutely crazy. In his first year, 26-10, and then I'll just go by year. So he went 26-10, 26-9, 20-7, 34-8, 21-11. That was probably his worst year in 2016, but he threw for over 4,000 yards. And then we have 2017, 34-11, threw for 4,000 yards. 2018, 35-7. Those are great numbers, and he's been consistently proving himself to the Seattle Seahawks. He's been consistently winning games, has a Super Bowl ring, already went to another championship where, you know, a blown call by, you know, Pete Carroll, you know, he could have audibled that, yeah, but, you know, that was several years ago. I don't want to get into that, but if you have a consistently proven quarterback on your team, you need to seize every opportunity that you can to hold him for as long as you possibly can. And this guy is a world-class talent, and you'd be an idiot to get rid of him.
Oh, exactly. I think the way the NFL is going, it's a quarterback-driven league. And again, if you're Seattle, yes, if you don't want to pay him, and if you want to trade him, get as much as you want for him. But again, I don't think, and again, I've said this a lot about past quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, all these elite quarterbacks in the league right now, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. You cannot replicate these talents in the league. So if you're Seattle, sure, you may be, like, if you're bold, they may trade up to get Kyler Murray at number 1. Now, do I think that's stupid? Yeah, but again, in my opinion, keep Russell Wilson, pay him top dollar. Do not lowball this. Do not lowball him because he will walk, and they have 3 days to get this deal done.
Yeah, and I can see him if he does get traded. I'm reading a thing right now. It said that, you know, coaches think maybe Wilson will get traded. Here we go. Former NFL coach makes bold prediction about Russell Wilson, Seattle. That's CBS Sports. Another article. Russell Wilson should be priority number 1 for the Seattle Seahawks. He is a game changer, and that's true. His arm is obviously not the best arm in the league. I think that belongs to Mahomes and Rodgers, but he's right up there. I mean, you cannot deny his deep ball is pretty good. That honestly, when Russell Wilson throws the deep ball, I think that's the prettiest ball in the league, you know, besides Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes, you know. They get it there, but his deep ball arch is just something out of this world.
And also, I'm going to say this right now. Russell Wilson is a winner. Like, you can say all you want about him, like, coming into the league. Obviously, the height was the concern. He wasn't tall enough. He wasn't this and this. But he's really, if there's anything, his legacy on the NFL is that he has paved the way for the next generation of shorter quarterbacks coming into the league that have strong arm talent.
Like Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, you know. So it's a stigma. I think that short quarterbacks can't play, but he's proven. He's 5'10". He's proven that short quarterbacks can play, and I think that's something that I think has really kind of changed the league a little bit. All these Baker Mayfield, short can't play, comes in, wows everybody. So I think that stigma is starting to be kind of pushed off to the side now. Obviously, if you're 3 feet tall, maybe not so much. But I mean, even Doug Flutie wasn't too bad of a quarterback.
Exactly.
He was he was like 4'11", I think. So
exactly. And I also want to point one more thing. So this is about Kyler Murray. People claim, and again, this isn't me saying this. These are scouts anonymous scouts have been talking to NFL Network about this. Kyler Murray is going to have a lot of batted balls in the NFL. Let me debunk this myth once and for all. I saw a stat on NFL.com about these upcoming quarterbacks that have the most batted balls. And guess who has more batted balls in college than Kyler Murray? That is Drew Lock out of Missouri. He is 6'4", 6'5". He has more batted balls than Kyler Murray. So I just want to put it out there. And again, anyone who's listening to this disagrees on that, feel free to, again, tweet at us, message us about it. I'm open for disagreements.
And one more thing that I want to add on this Russell Wilson discussion. First of all, I don't see a lot of batted balls from Russell Wilson. I see a lot of batted balls from other taller quarterbacks, including Jared Goff. I see his balls kind of get batted around. I mean, not a lot. I couldn't find the exact stats on this. I did some digging. I don't know what they are, but just by visual eyes and watching a lot of games last year, I see taller quarterbacks get their balls batted more than shorter quarterbacks do. And that's because shorter quarterbacks have learned to release at a higher point to get over the line. They've been doing that their whole life. So I don't know what they're short, so they're going to get a lot of balls batted. Yeah, that does make sense in theory, but in practicality, they've been practicing that height and growing up that way in that release point their whole life. So I don't really understand that concept. I get it in theory, but again, practically doesn't make sense, and it's been proven. One more thing I want to talk about real quick as we wrapped up our Russell Wilson discussion. He has not missed a game in 6 years. 2012, so in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, he has started all of those games. He's Mr. Durable, Mr. Reliable, scramble out of the pocket, running sideways, heave a ball 45 yards on a dime downfield. That is worth as much money as you need to give him, and I say sign him to a $230 million 7-year contract because you got to keep him. And then once he nears towards the end, you can sign him to 2 more years. But there's no way you let this guy go, and it'll be a real shame if the Seahawks do because he's been the anchor in this team for the last 6 years.
Also, more importantly, I liked how you pointed out he doesn't have many, if any, batted balls. Let's put that in comparison. In the same draft class, John Elway took Brock Osweiler and a round ahead of him. And keep this in mind, Brock Osweiler is the typical mold Elway likes, the 6'7" quarterback. And again, anyone who's seen Osweiler play, whether it is with the Denver Broncos, whether it's with the Miami Dolphins, the Cleveland Browns, you know what the common theme is? He has a low release point, and he gets the ball batted. But with Wilson, he's very fundamentally sound.
He's very over-the-arm thrower. Brock Osweiler's release point's a little more like off to the side, and Wilson's is higher up. So it is all on arm movement too. Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think that baseball mentality really comes in with Russell Wilson. And obviously, I think, again, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, let me reiterate this to all Seahawks fans out there. They must not let Russell Wilson walk out of that building without a contract come April 15. If they let him walk out, the Seahawks fans will be upset. And guess what? The Seahawks will go back to losing like they did before. They'll be an average team. Frankly, that's what the fans don't want.
No, you can't afford that because right now they got a quarterback of the future, and they need to hold on to him as tightly as they can, or they're going to get another Matt Hasselbeck.
Yeah, but and again, nothing wrong with Matt Hasselbeck.
Oh, there's a lot wrong with him, actually.
He's average, but again, for the Seahawks, average doesn't cut it. Russell Wilson is elite. Pay him like an elite quarterback. Negotiate the contract. Give him guaranteed money up front. Then that will seal the deal.
I 100% agree with you. Okay, moving on. Patrick knows a little bit more about college football than me. He does a lot of the research on this show. I do a lot of behind-the-scenes things. I like college football, and I pay more attention to it when the draft comes up, especially. But he's been an avid fan for many, many years. So he is going to do a segment on the top 5 quarterbacks going into the draft. So I'm just going to let him take this segment away, and I'll butt in when I think I need to. But I'm not really an expert on this. He's more, what's that word I'm looking for? He's more...
like a draft guru?
Yeah, I guess you could say he's more of a draft guru than I am, so I'll let him take this one away.
Okay, so obviously it's pretty clear that this quarterback class has potential to be very special. Much how we talked about the 2012, experts talked about the 2012 draft class having Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin III. Heck, even Kirk Cousins was in the same draft class. But now I want to talk about the top 5 quarterbacks and some of my big beefs I have with these rankings. Again, so I made these rankings based on the consensus of what, obviously, some of my opinion, some of what other experts were saying about this. So here's the overall order I do have based on team needs and what could happen. So number 1, we talk about this quarterback quite a bit, and we just talked about him. And when talking about Russell Wilson among short quarterbacks, Kyler Murray. He's the quarterback out of Oklahoma, and again, he had a phenomenal season. He won the Heisman Trophy. And if you look at his tape, he does a lot of things well. He's going to throw. He throws a lot of players open. He's got a live arm. He throws with anticipation. So that's great. Now, if I'm Arizona, and again, if Arizona is going to make this pick, Arizona can make this pick because it's a really good fit. But again, I don't see Kyler as the best quarterback. So, all right. Going on, number 2. The consensus for me, the consensus number 2 quarterback is Dwayne Haskins. He's a strong arm quarterback out of Ohio State. He fits the typical mold of an NFL quarterback. He played in pro style offense under Ryan Day at The Ohio State University. And again, I think overall, he fits with the Giants. I think he's going to go to the Giants, or some team might trade up, but I think he fits what the Giants really want. And he could be Eli's replacement. So, with that being said, great player. I think good potential for the Giants or whatever team trades up to get him. Number 3, Drew Lock. And again, this is the one player I think is getting slept on in the draft amongst quarterbacks. In my opinion, he reminds me of Matthew Stafford. And here, let me explain why. He has a live arm. He throws some different arm angles. And again, yes, he is very inconsistent. Sometimes he makes throws that, like a simple crossing route, he can't throw. He short arms it. Yes, it's frustrating, but let me reiterate this. He has insane upside. Any team that's willing to take a chance on him, heck, even the New York Giants, if they trade up, if they don't take Haskins at 6 and they trade up maybe in the top 10 to get him, that's a possibility. All right, number 4, Daniel Jones out of Duke. Very solid quarterback. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but again, he makes enough throws where he could be drafted, and his pro day source solidified it with his athleticism and that arm strength. Okay, number 5. This is tied for 5th for me. Jarrett Stidham and Will Grier. Jarrett Stidham, I believe, is a natural thrower of the football. I believe that the system he played at Auburn was not exactly ideal. But I think when it comes to the draft, he'll probably be a 3rd, maybe 4th round pick. Any team that takes a chance on him, he could be a starter down the road. So don't sleep on him.
And with all these quarterbacks, any one of them could be a bust, and any one of them could be great. I just want to reiterate that point. Didn't Russell Wilson got drafted in the 4th round, right?
Oh, 3rd. Yep.
3rd round. Thank you for correcting me. 3rd round, became a star. Tom Brady, 6th round, became a star. Kirk Cousins, whether you can debate it or not about him, got drafted later. He's become a really good quarterback. Now, Minnesota, he had actually a really solid year last year. He threw for a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, not that many picks. So he had a solid, whatever you say about him, he's a good quarterback, I think. And with a lot of quarterbacks, you pick at number 1, they come in with all this expectation, and then they fail. But a later round quarterback, like if you want to like Will Grier. If you pick them later, they come in kind of with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, you know? So I think that those are, you know, you can't ever underestimate or overestimate a QB.
And I personally think, and again, with all these quarterbacks on this list, I think all of them could be starters in the NFL. And again, let me kind of conclude my segment on this by saying the top 3 quarterbacks are irreplaceable in either of these rankings. So, in my mind, Drew Lock could easily be the number 1 quarterback taken if a team thinks he has a lot of value. And this is all dependent on if Kyler Murray does not go number 1 in the draft. Keep that in mind as I say this.
Which I don't think you will. Rosen has an amazing upside, and Cardinals kind of screwed the pooch. Kyler Murray's going to be in the same position next year if they don't put anybody around him. You know, like, I guess he does have players around him. He's got David Johnson, and he would have Larry Fitzgerald, but that offensive line was atrocious. That defense was horrible. And if you don't fix those things first, it doesn't make sense to draft another quarterback. Draft a defensive player, you know, like a defensive end, like we already discussed in our first episode. You know, they need to solidify that defense before they even can think about drafting another quarterback. Yeah, 3-4 years if Rosen doesn't pan out, get another one. But Murray isn't this generational talent, you know. He'll be a good quarterback, I think, and I think Josh Rosen will be too. But if you don't allow either one of them time and you just throw them into the fire with no really support around them, always having to come back in games, they're both not going to succeed. So either one you take or either one you stick with, it doesn't matter. If you don't put pieces around Kyler Murray, he's not going to succeed. If you didn't put places around Josh Rosen like you did, he's not going to succeed either. So it doesn't really matter which one you keep, but you need to build around a quarterback. So pick one and then build around them and hurry it up.
And that's my opinion. I think for the Cardinals, the Cardinals should follow what the Los Angeles Rams and the Bears are doing with their offenses. You pay a pretty steep price for a lot of really great offensive weapons while they're on their rookie deal. And then eventually the offense really flourishes because you've built a solid roster and you're contending for a short period of time for the Super Bowl, which is, I think, the trend of all teams, I think, what's going on right now.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I think a good quarterback in the league is very hard to come by. And, you know, like I previously stated, Josh Rosen's upside, I think you would agree with me, is immense, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he has the most upside of anybody coming out of that draft class. You know, he had 1 year. Peyton Manning was horrible his rookie year and his second year. And he wasn't very good his third year, you know, but they saw potential. They saw he had, and, you know, a good arm, good skill. And, you know, you needed to build around a quarterback, and Arizona needs to build around a quarterback. If they keep Rosen. If they don't, get Kyler Murray, take a chance on him, but then trade Rosen for, you could get probably a second-round pick out of him, and I could see the Patriots maybe wanting to do that or a different team. But they need to make a decision, and they need to make one quick, or else it's just going to be a crapshoot in Arizona for the next 5 or 6 years if they don't build around a QB and they just keep taking one every single year. It doesn't make sense.
And again, I think the quarterback position is all really about confidence, frankly. I think, frankly, Josh Rosen, when you're playing around a crappy offensive line and no weapons, of course you're not going to have confidence to throw to a man as open. And that's why you saw some interceptions. He hesitated because he wasn't sure whether or not he could trust his wide receivers or tight ends to get open, or some of his running backs.
And that's what happened with Mitch Trubisky his rookie year when he played, the back half of the season once Mike Glennon was awful. Mitch Trubisky played his rookie year. He went 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He looked horrible. Last year, they built some pieces around him. They established a good running game. They got a solid defense around him. And all of a sudden, he's in the Pro Bowl. I think he's going to be not a great quarterback, but I think it'll be pretty solid with Chicago. Do I still think they should have picked Mahomes? Yes, I do. Because he's the MVP. Could have had him. Didn't really need to trade up to get him. Anyway, sorry, off on a little tangent there. But, will Mitch Trubisky be the quarterback of the future in Chicago? Yeah, but that's because they build pieces around him. That's what they're doing, like with Mahomes, his second year. Obviously he's the MVP, but they have pieces around him. You need to get more weapons. You need to build a defense so you're not just always flinging the ball super far downfield, and doing that sort of thing. You need to let him, you need to build around him, and that's something that Arizona hasn't done. And if they don't do that and they just like, oh, here's the quarterback, do everything, that may work in Seattle, but that's not going to work in Arizona. And last year, it obviously didn't. And, I think they need to stick with Rosen for 3 more years to figure out if he's going to be their franchise quarterback or not, because that's about how long it takes. Unless you're Patrick Mahomes, then it's pretty obvious.
Exactly. Build up confidence in Josh Rosen. He's only 1 year into the league. My goodness. Like we're trying to make this comparison as if there's all this pressure on him to do well in his first year. As you said, quarterbacks don't always do well their first year coming out of college because it's a transition. You can't just expect a rookie quarterback to come in and be Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
It does not.
It was even his second year,
Yeah, that was his second year. He was playing behind Alex Smith. Keep in mind, who was Josh Rosen playing behind his first year? Sam Bradford. Sam freaking Bradford.
Yeah, that's not really. I think 2 years, 3 years of experience in the NFL, I think he can be very, very good. But you need to give him confidence. You think hearing all these trade rumors in the front office of Arizona, not saying that, oh, you're our guy, we're sticking with you, we don't care about what other people said, we're not picking Kyler Murray. If they would have said that, Kyler Murray still wouldn't be on people's draft boards as number 1. So that doesn't give him confidence. He thinks he might get traded because he had a bad year. So, he has no confidence. They're not building around him. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me what they're doing in Arizona, and they're going to continue to suffer, especially since, Cliff Kingsbury isn't. I don't know how he'll do either. Stephen A. Smith said that, he doesn't trust in Cliff Kingsbury, and I don't think I do either. But you need to start off a coach with a quarterback, and it doesn't make sense for Cliff Kingsbury to maybe get Kyler Murray. I can see that happening, but you need to make a decision, and you need to start building once you make that decision.
Exactly. My message to the Arizona Cardinals and their fan base: be patient with this front office, but at the same time, my goodness, if you're the front office, if you're working this front office, do something to build this roster up. You can't settle on getting 3 wins or 2 wins every year. Your goal should be contention. Right now, this team is not contending, and they will not be in the near future.
No, if they draft really good, and they can be, but right now, if they pick Kyler Murray and trade him, that's another awful season, I think, coming up. All right, next up, we're going to talk about some really dumb things that are going on right now in the NFL. What is Antonio Brown doing? I don't understand it. He's been given a new chance with a different team to show that he's not a D-bag, and he's been pretty much showing that he's pretty much a D-bag. Calling people out for no reason, getting in Twitter beefs, with Juju Smith-Schuster. It's not a very good start for him in Oakland, and I think he's entitled, and he thinks he's better than everybody, which, I think he is. But you don't got to be a jerk about it. You got to be a douche about it. Be a good man, and don't call people out on Twitter, especially, your old teammates like that, man. To me, that doesn't make sense, and I think social media it's been really annoying lately, especially with big name players like that. So what's your opinion?
It really kind of annoys me because if I'm going to be real with you, Juju Smith-Schuster, the day after Antonio Brown signed his contract extension, said he earned that contract. So he's proud of him. Former teammate, he gets a new chance. That's awesome. But again, let me reiterate this, and let me reiterate this to Antonio Brown. You call him out for fumbling the season away, but know what? But guess what? You know what? You created so much. You're such a diva in the locker room. You separated the locker room. You refuse to show up to play against the Cincinnati Bengals, all because you want to get traded. And guess what? You've been saying this for years. For the last couple of years, you've been telling Pittsburgh, I want to get traded. Guess what? You got your wish. No my messages. Move on. Work hard. Focus on winning in Oakland. Guess what? Juju Smith-Schuster, he's going to take care of business in Pittsburgh.
He's a really good receiver.
Yes, and again, Juju is talented. He he's a cheaper option for. He may not get the same production as Antonio Brown, but he will have, I believe, a similar impact on the roster as a whole when it comes to the receiving core.
I think with Antonio Brown now, it's going to be really time for Juju Smith-Schuster to sign, and I think he is going to be the number one receiver, and I think he may even lead the NFL in receiving yards over his, former player Antonio Brown, because he's that good. He makes great catches, great run after catch, great ball handling skills. He's an all-around just amazing receiver.
I guess the big overall question, though, for Pittsburgh is how are they going to replace the production from Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown? That those two players were the catalyst for that offense. They made Big Ben look really good. So how they replace him, I don't know. Is it through the draft? Is it another free agent? That is to be determined with this roster.
I just think, as we wrap up this little brief thing we talked about, I think Twitter beefs are dumb. If you got something to say, call a man or meet him and say it to his face. Don't post a picture. He fumbled on purpose. Ugh. No, be a man. All right? It's so stupid. I don't want to watch this crap. I don't want to hear this crap. If you got a problem, freaking talk to him about a problem, but leave us out of it. You're just drawing so much attention to yourself. You just want, Antonio Brown just wants a lot of attention, and that's just super annoying because none of us really care.
No, I don't. Frankly, here's my final thing I'm going to say about Antonio Brown. He has changed as a player. He came to the league as a 6th-round draft pick, hard worker, very productive, but clearly his attitude has shifted. He's become egocentric, and guess what? This Twitter beef is the perfect example. And I agree with you. If you have a beef with someone, my goodness, talk about it face to face, a phone call, something. But my goodness, stop attacking people over Twitter or social media.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I'll never have a Twitter beef with someone. If I have a problem, if me and Patrick have a problem, which I don't actually think we really even had a problem.
Nah, man.
But if I yell at him about something stupid, like sometimes I do, sometimes I'm saying, hey man, I'm sorry. I'm not tweeting at him like, hey bro. No. If we have a problem, we're calling each other, we're meeting each other, we're doing something of that similarity because we care about each other as friends and we care about our friendship and as, brothers from another mother, So especially I'm going to go off here people in Christ, I don't know about Antonio Brown, I don't know about Juju Smith-Schuster in their religion, but, as, me and Patrick are, guys in Christ, we want to have that sincerity with each other. And I think that that's something, I'm not saying that all NFL players aren't Christians. I'm just saying that I think a lot of sincerity has left the NFL and moved on to Twitter beefs, which I think, again, sorry I kind of went on a little tangent here, but, I just want to be clear that these things don't make sense. And I know we're in a new era of different things, and I know things are changing, but please, man, just call them, even send them an email, but leave us out of it. That's so egocentric, as you stated. Leave the community out of it. When I have a problem with someone, I don't post it on Facebook. I don't let everybody know. I call him. I text him. I do something to make it right because I want to make sure they're fine, and I'm not beefing with them on Twitter because I'm not a jackass.
Exactly. Be real, be genuine, and my goodness, stop with these ridiculously stupid Twitter trolls that's going on right now. My goodness, again, if you have a problem with someone, just communicate about it. Please, as NFL fans, and again, this is a universal value, the golden rule, do unto others what others will do to you. And the number one thing is do not slander people on social media and make them seem like they're bad people. Because I'm sure, guess what? Juju Smith-Schuster is he's a good person in general in the NFL. He represents a lot that's good in the NFL. And again, one play doesn't define him as a player, and one big contract for Antonio Brown does not define his NFL career and give him the right to slander people and cut people down on social media. Just stop it, Antonio Brown, from NFL fans, please.
Yeah, it's really annoying, and nobody thinks you're cool because of it. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Try and get with the program here, buddy. I don't know if people like Twitter beefs. Maybe they do, but your job is to play in the NFL. Your job is to make catches, make touchdowns for your team, whoever that may be. It doesn't make sense, and it's not helping anybody when you do things like this. And, I'm just frankly kind of mad because he used to be a great guy, someone people looked up to. Now he's kind of a jerk.
And guess what? I'm going to say this right now. What someone posts on social media, what you say on social media, how you communicate your message on social media says a lot about who you are as a person. And right now, if you didn't know Antonio Brown was a sixth-round pick and a hard worker when he came in the league, you would think based on his current situation, what he's doing right now, he's just a complete jerk. He only cares about himself. So guess what? He needs to really rectify the situation and just settle it with Juju Smith-Schuster, communicate and just get this problem out in the open.
Yeah, not you said out in the open.
Oh,
you mean close it?
I mean, just close it. It's a stupid beef. Just end it.
Yeah, please. That goes for everybody who listens to this. If you got a problem, man, just contact them. They're gonna be so much more grateful when you call them. I know when I got a problem with someone, I want them to tell me so then I can fix it. I don't want some tweeting me at Twitter like some. I don't know. Like that's with rappers too. I don't want to get too much into it, but Twitter beefs I think are dumb. Anyway, moving on to a brighter topic. This won't be a Football Incorporated podcast if we don't talk about the Chicago Bears a little bit. And they signed, just coming in as we're recording this, 35 minutes ago, they signed Elliott Fry, right, from the AAF. Had to miss a kick in the AAF, and I think, honestly, great opportunity, especially since that thing collapsed. I don't want to get too much into it today. Just a bad situation. But the NFL is signing over 55 players, I think, right now, have been signed by NFL teams. I think that's really good. And this kicker, I like his stuff. That's just me. I like his stuff. He's proven himself playing in the AAF over the course of a multitude of games. I think he's going to be decent. I think that's a solid pickup for a low cost.
And again, I think I tend to agree with you on this. I think although the AAF Football League generally failed and they didn't really live up to the promise they said to their fans, I do think that a lot of these players that are being signed have great potential to reshape and really reshape the future of their NFL careers. And I think Elliott Fry is a great example. Coming out of South Carolina, he really wasn't a well-known kicker, but again, kicking for the Orlando Apollos. Again, I know the average fan who did not watch the AAF probably wouldn't know that, but it's a really amazing story. So I think it's very encouraging that these players that play in the AAF to get a second chance to play in the NFL are getting that second chance. And I have no doubt that these players will be ever more grateful to play in the NFL, much how a minor league baseball player is grateful to get back to the big leagues. So overall, just a great trend what the NFL is doing right now.
Yeah, no, I don't have to disagree with you. They're really picking up the slack. I think I heard this. I don't remember what it was on YouTube, but I saw this thing, and a guy said, I'm sorry, I can't credit the source, but he said, he said something along the lines like, when the AAFs collapsed when it did, that's a good thing, because if it was after the draft, there wouldn't be as many players signed. So at least they got done at a good time, So that's all I have to say. That I'm gonna Elliott Fry stats right here for you. So I'm just reading his stats right now. He has gone 14 for 14 over the course of 8 games and a long of 47. That is honestly, the football field doesn't change shape and size. So when you're kicking like that, that's good. I think Elliott Fry is going to be a really good kicker for a long time in Chicago. I think the transition between college and NFL is a bit different, especially since Chicago signed Chris Blewett. He was not that great of a kicker in Pitt. He only kicked
60%?
70. It was 70% average, which isn't that good. But just, last season, Elliott Fry, 13 for 13, long of 47. Those are good numbers, and those are numbers Chicago needs. And with an offseason training, I think he can be, honestly, a sensational kicker. What are your opinions? I think that it's a really good signing.
Yeah, overall, I just think, and here's my general take, I think it's really good. The more competition you have at more positions, it makes your team a better team in the long run. So I think this is a perfect example. In the kicking department, clearly last year the Chicago Bears did not bring in any competition for Cody Parkey, so he felt kind of complacent in in his performance. So he's like, well, I didn't kick well, so I still have a job. But I think adding Elliott Fry, again, he has credibility. He is very good. And again, understand the AAF is not the NFL, but again, when your job is to kick a field goal and your game really relies upon a kicker to do so, I think it's good for Chicago. You need proven kickers, and guess what? It's going to be kicking competition all summer in training camp.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get the job. And honestly, I think he's going to be that guy. I'm going to call it now. 10 years down the road, Elliott Fry is going to be one of the best kickers in the league. It's really hard to go 14 for 14 over the course of multitude games, making lots of kicks, kicking 44, 47-yard field goals consistently. Am I on a little bit of a high ride right now and a little bit of a bandwagon? Yeah. But he's proven himself. Chris Blewett hasn't proven himself. And I think this is, since Patriots re-signed Stephen Gostkowski, I think this is a super good opportunity for Chicago. And I think I'm actually really impressed. They made a great move here. And I'm not worried about the season. I was kind of worried about the season when they signed Chris Blewett. I was like, crap, the kicker. But now I'm confident Chicago will go 13-3, 12-4, and get a first-round bye. I mean, what do you think?
I'm not. That's actually, I think for Chicago, that's a very realistic expectation. And I think, and again, I like to stress the importance of this signing. I think the Chicago Bears, obviously, we saw last year, Chicago, great defense. That offense at times when it needed to play big, they did very well in that aspect. But again, I think if that kicking game does not match up to the production of the offense and defense, they're not going anywhere. But again, I could be wrong here. Elliott Fry makes 90-95% of his kicks. And again, I think their offense will be moving the ball pretty efficiently. So I don't see many situations where he's going to kick the ball beyond 50 yards. So the low end, I'm going to say 11 wins. Again, Green Bay can always get better.
They're not.
It's a possibility, but again, I think the clear-cut winners of this division are the Chicago Bears.
I don't know. I think the Vikings are going to give them a run for their money. It's not going to be Green Bay. It's not going to be the Lions. Sorry about the Lions, but I think it's going to be Vikings versus Chicago in the last game of the season, coming down to the last 2 minutes. It's tied 21-21, and you need a kicker to come out and make a 45-yarder, and I believe in this guy.
I was seeing his games. I saw him. I didn't watch a lot of the AAF, but with the games I did watch, the one standout kicker was Elliott Fry. Obviously, he was the most accurate kicker in the league. So, good signing for Chicago. Again, this is a low-risk, high-reward signing. You sign for a really cheap contract. He outplays it. Again, a couple years down the road, you sign him to a bigger contract. So, overall, good move by Chicago. No complaints from a Lions. Well, obviously, I'm a Lions fan. I had the luxury of Jason Hanson, so.
Yeah. I think. Excuse me. I think you're right. I think. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my words here. Chicago is the clear-cut winner, especially since the Packers are in a dismay right now, and that front office is just. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers is kind of being a jerk, Mike McCarthy, all that kind of stuff. They're kind of in a disassembly going downhill, which is good for me, but for Packers fans, it's not a good sign.
No, it's not. And again, I think hold up. I need to correct myself. I said Jason Hanson. That was referenced before we had Matt Prater, so Matt Prater's been very consistent. But again, I don't want to go too deep on the issue of the Green Bay Packers, but I think Aaron Rodgers, okay, this is a bold take here. We can debate this if you want, but Aaron Rodgers' legacy is on the line here with this new hire. His ability to work with this head coach, his offensive staff, is going to dictate whether or not he's like a diva quarterback or he's really committed to winning.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't know if it's about his legacy. I think his legacy's already kind of been cemented as one of the greats, but it'll determine the end for him and how he falls off.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. The more I think about it. He has the numbers. He has a Super Bowl ring. But again,
he's got the arm for sure. Accuracy, Hail Mary, King.
He's got the talent. So I guess it's really up to Aaron Rodgers to determine where he wants to be. If he's content where he wants to be, that's fine. But if he wants to take his game to obviously that level he was playing at before, where he's playing at an efficient level, he's really maximizing talent. This is a true test. There's not many proven weapons on this Packers team.
No, there's not. He's going to have to. So I think he's going to have to scramble around next year. He's only got a few years left. He's not old, but he's in his mid-30s. It's time for. He's got a few years left before he's out of the league. So Packers need to figure this out, and they need to figure it out quick if they want to get another Super Bowl out of him, or will he get traded and go somewhere else? Probably not. But if he's being that guy in Green Bay, then maybe they will. Do you have anything to add?
I guess my final take here is obviously Green Bay was very toxic last year. I'm not sitting back here watching the NFC North games. It was pretty apparent Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers didn't like each other. But I will say this. Aaron Rodgers, I'm not saying he's part of the problem. He's the whole part of the problem here. But he needs to take ownership. He needs to take ownership, and he needs to refocus this season on the whole goal of what the Green Bay is. They're a championship town. The fans deserve better than being average. So, Aaron, really play better. Take this team to the heights that they once were before.
I don't know if he can play better. He played pretty excellent. But I think what you're trying to say is manage your off-the-field problems better. Because he's rock solid on the field. Like, there's no doubt. But I think he needs to manage his off-the-field personality and his off-the-field shenanigans better. That's what I was
trying to say. Actually, that's what I was trying to get at. And that's more so I was trying to say because I think if we look at different organizations like the Patriots, for example, yes, Tom Brady, like if you look at the Patriots, the Steelers, like those two quarterbacks, Brady and Roethlisberger, have they had like some stuff off the field that you'd question and kind of divide a locker room? Yes, but again, they were united locker rooms. They dealt with the matter privately. They didn't let it go out public. And I think
I'm going to correct you on that. I'm sorry, but Tom Brady did that, but Ben Roethlisberger didn't. He went on public radio a lot and threw his teammates under the bus. I would have agreed with you, but I just saw like a YouTube video on it. I know it's from a good source. I don't remember what it was from, but yeah, no, he actually threw his players under the bus a lot, and that was a divided locker room, actually. And his players have come out and publicly stated that they didn't really like playing with him very much, which I get if you're going to throw your players under the bus. But I can see, like the locker room in Kansas City right now, super united. The locker room in the Patriots kingdom right now, super united. So I get what you're saying. There are teams out there with super united fronts because they deal with their problems either in a locker room together as a team or they do it outside where nobody can see. But if you're going to go on public radio like Ben did and just trash your players and throw them under the bus, he's been known for doing that. And if you're Antonio Brown going on Twitter, all that kind of things, that's not a good look. And that's why teams aren't united.
And I think for another thing in Big Ben is, I think when it comes down to it, each quarterback has a different take on leadership. Now, for example, I think the example of Ben Roethlisberger going on public radio, publicly challenges teammates. I think in his belief, he believes that publicly challenge him will get the best out of him. And I think there's ways to do that, but I just don't think that's the proper way to go. And I think for Aaron Rodgers, it's kind of the same way. You can't, and again, when he lets like a Bleacher Report article affect him in the locker room, he has to grow up and be mature about this.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. And that's what they did say in the video too, as well, as that, Big Ben, maybe that was his way of motivating his players. And I could see that actually, but he needs to understand who needs motivating in what way, and that's not going to work for everybody. And with that, we're going to be out of here. Once again, my name is Cody Kirsten. Follow us on Twitter, ftball_inc, YouTube, and Podbean. And so thank you so much. I am out, and you have yourselves a wonderful rest of the week. Again, as we stated, kind of sporadic schedule of when these things are going to be coming out, but we'll post when they are. And when they come out, you won't be disappointed. Thank you. Have a very good day.